Team Liquid is NA's hope at this World Championship. Now let's get straight to the title and what I meant by saying Team Liquid are the second most winningest team of all time. So I did some math and looked at the past couple of wins of the teams participating at Worlds, and I added up all the wins that all the players from the teams had at past World Championships in only the main events, and obviously since Season 3, because beforehand it was a way different kind of World Championship. So what I came up with is that G2 is the team whose players have the most victories at Worlds, which is reasonable if we look at all 5 players in the past having played on decent teams at the World Championships with good runs. And Team Liquid is actually placed second in that ranking and only a mere 6 games behind G2. So you can definitely see that there is some solid Worlds experience on the Team Liquid lineup. So what kind of video is this going to be? I am not an analyst and I'm not going to pretend to be one. I'm going to present a historical outlook on the tournament and why I believe Team Liquid to have the best chance out of all the NA teams to make it out of groups or at least have a decent showing at the tournament. And yeah, let's get straight into it. First I'm going to go over the lineup of the team. So we have Impact in the top lane, and there's not really much left to say about him. People know him at this point. In my opinion, he's one of my favorite players. I consider his career to be the most impressive out of any top laner, period. There's nobody who has impressed me more over the career, and he's my rank 1 top laner of all time, not in terms of skill or performance at a given period in time. His prime certainly was not the best out of any top laner, but I consider his career to be the most impressive. Why do I do so? If you pick out any point in time, a random point in time in League of Legends history, and you ask me what top laner would you want to have in your team, and without telling me what point in time we're actually talking about, I'm going to pick Impact, because pretty much from Season 3 to Season 9, he's always a top 10 top laner in the world, and you can't really go wrong with him. He has proven that he is capable of winning a world championship with him on the team. The keyword here is with. Impact did by no means win that Season 3 world championship for SKT, but they won it with him. He was by no means a liability, and he had some decent showings at the tournament. Ever since then, he has had multiple, way more impressive showings actually at world championships, such as last year, where he matched up really well against the Shy Nuguri and was not a liability in those matches either, which only a handful of players in the world can even say about themselves when matching up against those all-time great top laners like the Shy, Nuguri, Smap, and so on. So what's negative about Impact? We have to be honest here, the meta shift ever since Season 8-ish does not really benefit him. As I said, he's capable of winning a world championship with him on the team, but at this day and age you would rather have a top laner that can carry games more decisively than Impact does in his more backseated and passive manner. And pressure soaking is not as important anymore, in my opinion, for a top laner as it was in Seasons 3, 4, 5, where tank top laners were always in the meta and there were a multitude of tanks in the top lane. Whereas now there's pretty much only Shen and Ornn, which he is really good at, so that's not a problem. But you would like to have some more carry threat out of the top lane. Now to the other players. Broxah in the jungle, he's a recent world finalist. He was a big part of that world finals run, and I don't care what any Fnatic fans tell me, or G2 fans for that matter. I don't care. He was taking a dip in Season 9. He is not in the best current form right now, but he has recently made a world finals and he was crucial to that world finals run. So that doesn't mean that he's a top jungler in the world right now, but I know and I've seen him do it before, so I give him a little bit more leeway than, let's say, a player like Santorin, who I consider a better jungler at this current moment, but I don't know if he can match up, if he will crumble under the pressure, if his laners get hard stomped by other players of the top Asian teams. Going on to Jensen. He has a tradition of getting far at Worlds, if you will. He has not made the finals yet, so he's not been in the upper echelon, but he really has had good performances at pretty much every world championship he attends, and he has attended pretty much every world championship. he has made worlds in years where the likes of Bjergsen or Reckless have missed out on a couple. Jensen has always been there, not always made it very far, but he has showed a decent performance. What's the negative about Jensen? He's not been all the way to the finals, of course, and also he seems to be outmatched by the top mid laners at every tournament, such as Faker, Caps. Those people tend to clap him more often than not. But as long as you get up until that point, you should be fine with Jensen. Moving on to tactical. He's the only one who hasn't played a game at Worlds yet because he's a true rookie. And that's obviously a liability in the lineup if you want to make a deep run at the World Championships. But there's one key point about him. He has not proven to be unable of performing at Worlds yet. And this is, in my opinion, a very big plus, which I'm going to dive deeper into later on in the video. Last but not least, Core JJ in the bottom lane support. There's really not much negative to say about him at all. Merely 3 years ago, he won a World Championship at this point, so he was a core part of that team too. He was a decisive player in that World Championship run, and in my opinion, he could still be on a top Korean team and win Worlds with them potentially. So yeah, Core JJ definitely a solid player you want to have on a team that wants to do damage at Worlds. Having gone over the lineup, there's one additional big thing I want to mention. This World Championship is played in its entirety offline at a stage environment, and we can already say what big of a game changer that is by looking at the play-ins results. There are teams that have looked phenomenally in their respective regions, such as Mad Lions or even LGD, but I think there's a different issue on that team. Those teams have qualified to the World Championships by playing online from their own homes or offices, gaming houses, and now they seem to choke a little bit, or at least not be as comfortable on stage, or some sort of performance issues have emerged, and we will have to see how other teams at the World Championship who already are qualified to the main event will deal with those issues. This stages of chokes, as I like to call it, can be seen all throughout esports. There are just some players who won't bring the same level of performance if you bring them to the next stage of choke. For example, most players start out by playing solo queue in the comfort of their own homes, on their own PC, mom making food for them or whatever, and that's perfectly fine. Those players can get up high on the ladders, but some of them fail to perform if it comes to LAN events, to the first LAN events where they play offline in a setting which isn't as comfortable. Maybe it's a little bit cold in the big event halls. Maybe there's just some 50 people in the crowd who are shouting and that distracts them. So a bunch of players already fail to perform at that level and simply don't get any further. And this system reaches all the way to the top where some players fail in their regional playoffs. Forgiven or Yankos were players who had taken a long time to overcome that hurdle. And some players just aren't able to perform at the World Championships. There's numerous examples of this. Many people would count Bjergsen or Doublelift in that category, where they surely aren't bad players or liabilities on their teams, but they don't bring the same level of carry performances on that stage of an environment. And this is why the Worlds experience of the past years, and not only Worlds experience, but also winning Worlds and going deep in the tournament, is a crucial factor in me predicting Team Liquid to do well at this tournament. The next point is, North America's #1 seed has not done well compared to the #1 seeds of other regions, compared to the other seeds of North America at pretty much every World Championship, barring Season 4, barring Season 9. There's some sort of a curse of the NA1 seed that they don't win more games than all the other seeds, despite supposedly having easier groups. That might in large part be due to Cloud9 so often coming from the #3 seed and going on impressive runs in the World Championship, but that really shouldn't be the norm. I made a little lineup of all the wins that have been collected by NA teams at Worlds since Season 4, main events only of course, and the #1 seed from NA only got 19 wins in all those World Championships, whereas the #3 seed collected 20. So I'm pretty sure if you do that math for all the other regions, there's no other region, not a major other region, that is going to have this sort of a discrepancy of power, or a lack thereof, I should say, like North America. And now, before there's any TSM fans commenting angrily under the video, oh my god, TSM are the #1 team. How can you even predict Team Liquid to be better? They clearly showed that they are the best team coming out of NA. That's exactly what this graphic is about. The past World Championships have shown that only because you're the best team from North America, you're not necessarily going to be the best performing North American team at the World Championships. And also, please take a little bit of a backseat there, TSM fans. You lost to Golden Guardians in the playoffs and then scraped by a couple 3-2 best-of-5 series. So it's not even that clear that the TSM right now is the best team in North America. Back to the point where I said the tactical wasn't proven to be unable to perform at Worlds. I want to relate this a little bit to TSM as well. Bjergsen and Doublelift both have always struggled at the World Championships. The furthest Bjergsen has gotten is still his Season 4 run to the quarterfinals. Why is that? I don't really know, but that's exactly why I don't predict them to do especially well at this World Championship. They have in the past had way better lineups in my opinion. Think back to the Season 7 lineup. Think back to Doublelift's last year on Team Liquid. They both have played with better lineups in the past and failed to get out of groups even at the World Championship. So I don't really see what would enable them to do so this year. That is why I think TSM are not going to be able to do a lot at this World Championships. Now a quick mention to FlyQuest. I love the team, I love the players, I love the organization. But despite all the work they've put in this year, I simply don't consider the level of the individual players to be high enough to compete at this level, and thus I pretty much disregard them in this conversation. I'm very happy if I'm in fact wrong about this and they do damage or even get out of groups. That will be perfectly fine with me, but I don't expect them to, and I think they should definitely be the weakest of the 3 NA teams coming into this tournament, despite their regional performance arguably being the best out of all those 3 teams. Now a quick outlook on the groups themselves. I already established why I think Team Liquid will be the best performing North American team at this World Championships. Now let's look at the groups and why I think they have a good shot at getting out of those. Firstly, Group A. If they actually get slotted in there, which is a 50-50 chance at this point, they will go up against G2 Esports, Marchi Esports, and Suning. I think that's a pretty decent group for a North American team. Marchi Esports I can't talk much about. They're from the PCS. It's a region I haven't watched, and other teams from the region have done well at this or past World Championships, so I won't say that they can't get out of the group, but I would much rather draw them than a strong team from, say, Korea, Europe, or even China. So I think it's a decent chance that Team Liquid are better than them. Now comparing them to Suning and G2 Esports. G2 didn't have the best sort of a season in Europe, but I think it would still be ridiculous to make them out to be anything else than a favorite to get out of this group. They have players with huge Worlds pedigree, as I've already established, and they tend to perform a lot better when it matters, so I count on them to get out of this group. Now Suning though. Suning is a very different beast. None of the players have ever been to a World Championship, barring their support player Swordart. They are definitely a competent team, but they are by no means outclassing Team Liquid individually or as a team. In an online setting, no big stakes, I would probably favor Suning over Team Liquid, and I think it's reasonable to do so, but I have no reason to believe that those 5 players are going to perform better at Team Liquid at a World Championship in specific. I think it's a matchup that's pretty much 50-50, but I expect Team Liquid to probably place better than them at the group. And again, this is not based off any analytical gameplay points that I've noticed, because once more, I'm not an analyst, but just the trends that I've observed over the past World Championships. People who have not been to the World Championship yet first need to earn their pedigree, earn the respect, and then I will more confidently say that they are able to beat a North American team that has been to Worlds and whose players have performed there before. Now moving on, if Team Liquid gets slotted into Group B, now surely those teams are in theory a cut above them in terms of skill, and they have looked very impressive in their own respective regions. Diamond Gaming, not much to say about them. They have been to Worlds in the past. They have choked a little bit there probably, and they are definitely more of an online team than a stage team. Even last year, Team Liquid were in a group with them, and they looked very much able to take 1 or 2 games off them even. So I feel like Diamond Gaming is beatable for Team Liquid, but they have even looked a little bit better this year around, so I wouldn't expect Team Liquid to take a game off them or get out over them outright. But Rogue and JDG, all those 4 teams in this group, should Team Liquid get slotted in here obviously, are very much capable of taking games off each other. They are all competent teams, they have all looked impressive. So there's definitely not going to be a team going 0-6 in this group. And if there was, I definitely think it won't be Liquid. Rogue is a full-on rookie team barring their bot lane. The entire top side has never been to Worlds, and once more, this is an indicator for a team being pretty much a wild card. You can't tell how they are going to perform at the stage. JDG has the exact same issue. None of their players, not a single one, has played a game at the World Championship yet. Their bot laner Loken is his biggest achievement is beating Forgiven in the 2015 IEM best of 3. So this team is very much unknown in terms of performance internationally, although I will repeat it once more, they have been the best or second best team from the LPL over the course of this year. They have looked impressive and they should be able to beat Team Liquid. I just don't know if they will. So even in this group, I would give Team Liquid a chance to get it out of there. Not as big of a chance as in Group A, but I won't count them out outright over some rookie teams. Now to summarize the video, Team Liquid have a well battle-tested roster of veterans and tactical, and I believe in them to very much perform at the World Championship. I see other teams as potentially better than them, but I still think Team Liquid have a chance due to international experience prevailing time and time again at those big stakes events.